it's a little problem.
So how do you assess our successes and our failures in the last, 15 years of our war against terrorism? We started officially the war against Al-Qaeda after September 11, even though we have been combating Al-Qaeda way before, since Bin Laden was in Sudan and the East Africa Embassy bombing and the USS Cole. But officially the war was declared against the terror network after 9/11. And now we have ISIS, and we have a lot of other affiliates that operate in so many different places around the world, some under Al-Qaeda's banner and some under ISIS. With everything that you mentioned, do you see that we have been more secure, less secure as a nation? Is there things that we need to do in order to make ourselves more secure and more confident in facing the threats ahead?
We're much more secure than we were, in my opinion, than we were on 9/11. And for all those tax dollars that have been pushed into our law enforcement, intelligence, military, etc., I think we are more secure. I think there were tremendous glitches in the system prior to 9/11. I don't think one of those glitches was the federal courts and the way they work, or the rules of law.
You're not going to see me disagreeing with you on that.
Good. So I think in that way we are safer. We have yet to have a politician who will stand up and say to the American nation, hey, guess what? We're safer. We're going to keep vigilant. We're going to trust our law enforcement officers. We're going to trust our intelligence agents. We're not going to do X, Y, Z because we don't need to. We are not going to overreach in that way. We are going to have rules and regulations, and we're never going to just do things secretly behind the scenes because we think it's important. But we are safer. And the reasons we're safer are because of the things we did legally, because the things we thought about, because the things we took a step back. So that's,
What about the nature of our own society and about America as a melting pot?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's right.
Just from my perspective, you look at the number of foreign fighters, for example. We have a nation of 350 million. We have about 150 that went to the conflict zone in Iraq and Syria. You look at a place like Belgium, they have 500.
Yeah.
And they have
a smaller country.
Way smaller country, 11 million. And even we have the Muslim community in the United States is way bigger. So there's something that we're doing right that goes beyond the justice system.
Right. This is a really important point, which is that rose-colored glasses version, which I like, which is that, hey, listen, our job now is here. Our job is to make sure that we don't become Brussels, that we don't become France, that we are inclusive in a way that we have not been willing to be inclusive. That's the next step. And it's a challenge. But we can do it. I mean, we've done it before. We can totally do it. We have to want to do it. The good news is that a lot of the structures of government are looking this way. You have federal judges that are basically saying, look, there's going to be a reintegration program for these youth. Or you have others saying, look, we're going to figure out, you have law enforcement saying, look, let's have civil society take care of some of this when these kids are 13, 14, and 15. Let's function as a nation. And let's understand that there has to be a sense that you can belong essentially to a country. You have to want to vote. You have to be part of the civic framework. You have to be able to say what you think. And you have to have a stake in the future there and feel like your family will have a real future there. And that's what happened in Europe. That has not happened. And that's our challenge. Our challenge is here. And I think we've started to turn that corner, and so, we're desperate for some creative ideas. But, yeah, you're right.
Karen, very few people in the United States know about these topics more than you. You started with Guantanamo and now with federal courts, with Roe v. Justice. Phenomenal book. I highly recommend it to everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks a lot.
C-SPAN, created by America's cable television companies and brought to you as a public service by your cable or satellite provider. Here's a look at some authors recently featured on Book TV's Afterwards, our weekly author interview program. Republican Congressman Darrell Issa discussed his time as chair of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Manhattan Institute senior fellow Heather McDonald looked at the state of policing in America. And Nathalia Holt profiled the women in instrumental in the development of America's space program in the 1940s and 50s. In the coming weeks on Afterwards, author Eric Fair will discuss his time in Iraq working as an interrogator for a private military contractor. Wall Street Journal columnist Kimberly Strassel will argue the political left is using scare tactics to silence conservative speech. Also coming up, syndicated radio host Dana Lash contends that the United States is dividing itself into two countries, coastal America and flyover America. And this weekend, Karen Greenberg, director of the Center on National Security at Fordham University, takes a critical look at the legal ramifications of the steps taken